Hello, thank you for joining Steve on Pathways, my video blog about Pathways learning experience based on my own experience. Today is episode number 5. We're going to be talking about the next 2 projects in level 1 in every path, and that is feedback and evaluation and research and presentation. Let's get started. On the agenda today, we'll be reviewing those 2 projects in level 1. And we're going to talk a little bit in more detail about the requirements for those projects because it's a little bit different, especially the project number 2, feedback and evaluation. To help you understand that more fully, I'm going to actually share the screen with the live Toastmasters International screen to help you see what you need to do in this particular project. So here I'm logged into Pathways International. I'm going to go into Pathways, go to Basecamp. This will just take a minute to load. In my particular case, I have 2 options when I go into Access Basecamp, and that's because I've been a Pathways guide before or been a Basecamp manager. So it will show that I can log in as a Basecamp manager if I want to administer the program. If you're not a Basecamp manager, you will not have that option. You'll go to Basecamp, which is what I'm going to do today to show you how to access the project number 2 and some of the deliverables. So I'm going to go back into my educational transcript again. I'm going to open my curriculum. We've seen this before. It's the same each time I want to access my particular path. I'm going to launch the education, evaluation, and feedback project. Even though I've completed it before, you can see by the check mark here, I've completed these. You can always go back to them and look at them again if there's something you want to reference in a later project and reread or review. With almost every system that I've encountered, that always takes just a minute or so to load a project. So once again, every project starts with a little bit of navigation. And as I said before in the Pathways Essentials, is it's good to look at what your assignment will be. In this particular case, I can see that the purpose of the project is to present a speech, receive feedback, and apply that feedback to a second speech. And then I can choose any topic for a 5 to 7 minute speech. And then after I've given that speech and gotten my evaluation, I give either that same speech again or write a new speech, but incorporate the feedback from the first speech. And then also the last thing here is to serve as an evaluator for at a future club meeting and get feedback about my evaluation. So there's really 3 different things that you have to do in this particular project to complete the project. You're going to end up giving 2 speeches and completing a meeting role. So it's a little bit different than most projects where there's just 1 speech or 1 deliverable. There's 3 deliverables in this particular one, but let's not sweat it too much because it's not going to be that bad. So first, you're going to start off by writing a speech. Again, it can be on any topic, a 5 to 7 minute speech. You're going to schedule time to deliver that speech, and you're going to when it's time for you to deliver that speech, you're going to get your evaluation. So I'm jumping now to the evaluation page. And on this particular page, you can see that there are 3 evaluations. So why 3 evaluations? Well, because you're giving the speech once. You're going to either give that speech again with incorporating the feedback you got from your evaluation. So there's a second evaluation for the second speech. And then the last thing that you're going to do is serve a meeting role as an evaluator. And so you get evaluated on your evaluation as well. So three deliverables. So one of the things that I want to mention with this particular project also is evaluations. And should I keep my evaluations? What do I do with my evaluations once they're finished? So I'm going to talk a little bit more in detail about that later, but in this particular project, you want to be sure that you keep the evaluation from your first speech and give it to the evaluator who's doing the evaluation of your second speech so they know the specific things that you were asked to improve from your first speech. So in this case, it's important that you keep your evaluation and you give it to the evaluator of your second speech. And then the last resource is the evaluation of your evaluation. So one of the other things I wanted to touch base on with this particular project is how do you, if you fulfill a meeting role, what do you do with that? Because in this particular case, you'll have your completed evaluation once you've given the first 2 speeches and then completed the meeting role as an evaluator. But what do you do with that information? So let's go look at how you exactly get to that. So if you look at my screen, you go up here into the upper right-hand corner, you'll see this little gear icon. And that's important because you can use that to get to your account. And when you go click on your account, you will see a recap of all the different meeting roles that are important to completing paths. And as you scroll down here, you can see that there is a opportunity for you to put in a date as the speech evaluator. So once you get in this particular feedback and evaluation project, once you've participated and been an evaluator, you want to come to this particular area, put in the speech date of the speech, and there's a little calendar here for you to get to do that. In my case, you can see I've already completed that project. And then you want to come down here to the lower right-hand corner and save. If you just put the date in and then close this page, it will not save your change. And as you do other meeting roles, if you wish to record those, and you probably should record some of them at least, you can come back in and keep adding those roles to the your account or your profile to keep a record of it. So let's go back now, and I want to show you one more thing before we finish talking about feedback and evaluation. So one other thing that you can do if you're nervous about giving an evaluation, because if you're a new-time Toastmaster, this is only your second project, and maybe you haven't even attended that many meetings just yet, and you might be a little bit apprehensive about giving an evaluation, but you shouldn't be, because everyone has an opinion, regardless if they're a communications expert or been a Toastmaster for 1 year or 10 years or longer. You have an opinion about what you've heard and how it affected you. However, there's also a resource, a tutorial and resources over here in the corner. If you hover over that and then click on the drop down that appears there, what you can do is go to the not evaluation resources, but at tutorials. And one of the tutorials that are listed here, if you scroll down, is how to evaluate. It's an online class. It only takes a couple minutes. It's really an excellent resource. It will walk you through what the expectation is for you as an evaluator, how to quantify the rubric that we saw in the evaluation earlier about local variety or clarity. And really is a great resource. It only takes a few minutes to go to. You just click on online class, how to evaluate, and it will immediately start. And it's interactive so that you will hear a speech and evaluate the speech and then compare how you evaluated that speech with the moderator of that particular class. So next I'd like to talk a little bit about research and planning, research and presentation, I mean, and I'll go through that just briefly with you. Next, I'd like to talk about research and presenting and go into a little bit of the details about the requirements for that speech and what the deliverables are. We'll just take a second for the module to load, and we'll go right to the assignment. So the purpose of this speech is to of this project is to learn the basic, or learn or review the basic research methods and present a well-organized, well-researched speech. You can select any topic that you are not already familiar with or that you wish to learn more about. So it doesn't have to be something that you're totally unfamiliar with or that you don't have any interest in, let me put it that way. So for instance, I don't know anything about corporate tax code, the tax laws and as they change, but that doesn't mean I have to do a speech on it. I want to do a speech on something that I feel some interest in and that can show my energy and enthusiasm about. So keep that in mind when you're choosing your topic. Also, make sure that your topic is narrow enough that you can present it in a 5 to 7 minute time period, because often we choose topics that are way too broad and make it difficult to really give any kind of meaningful presentation in just 5 to 7 minutes, which isn't really very long when you're trying to cover a broad topic. So keep that in mind. The other thing that I want to point out to you is that there are lots of different um, um, outlines and things to help you with your speech. So let's just go to your speech evaluation. One of the things I want to show you very quickly is there's a worksheet here that's excellent, but then there's also a speech outline worksheet. And again, this is an editable PDF, so if I really wanted to use this, I would save it on my drive someplace that I can access it later, and then go in and start to use it and change it to with the information that I want. So one of the things that I wanted to go through very quickly is that you can see right up here at the top, the worksheet is 5 pages long. So that's the outline would be 5 pages long. Typically for me, a 5 to 7 minute speech is about 1.5 to 2 pages double spaced if I'm writing out every word that I intend to say. So this is plenty of outline for a 5 to 7 minute speech. I found when I did this particular project that I did the first page, and by the time I got halfway through the second page, I realized I had written my whole speech, and I didn't ever get past the main point and 3 subpoints, main point 2, and so forth. So this is an outline. It's a guide. It is something, a tool that you can use. If you don't find it useful or only find parts of it useful, then use those parts that are helpful. It is a good resource to help you organize your speech, but that doesn't mean you have to organize it with all these main points and subpoints. Again, you have 5 to 7 minutes. I believe when I did my speech, my topic was I had just become a new grandparent, and so I did my research on the demographics of grandparents today, what their age group is, what their interests are, and the things that they will, how they're different from previous generations of grandparents, which to me was enormously interesting and something that I could speak about with passion and enthusiasm. The other thing that I want to mention about this particular project, and really any project, is to always look at your evaluation that you're going to be, that is for this particular speech or project that you're completing, just to make sure that you're really delivering and it's clear to whoever is going to be evaluating you that you've done the work that is required. So from this particular project, there is a note to about the evaluator, and this is typical of most of the evaluations. The member completing this project has spent time researching a topic he or she may be speaking about, a new topic or a known topic on a deeper level. So what that means is that you have to make it clear when you give this speech that you have done research, even though it might be a topic that you're enthusiastic about, and maybe it's a soft topic like mine was about the demographics of grandparent. There were sites I could source, or sources I could cite, I should say, to use in my speech that showed that I did the research and that I presented facts and figures to the membership when I gave this speech. So that's an important thing to remember before you finalize your speech, is look forward to the evaluation, see what the deliverable is going to be, how you're going to be evaluated, and make sure when you're writing your speech that it's clear to the evaluator that you're providing that thing that they're being asked to look for in the evaluation. So in conclusion, what we covered today in this episode are reviewing level 1, project number 2, which is feedback and evaluation, and level 1, project number 3, research and presenting. Remember that for feedback and evaluation, there are 3 things that you have to do. You're going to give a speech, give feedback on that speech, hold on to that evaluation, give the speech again, make sure that evaluator gets the correct evaluation for that speech, plus your first evaluation, so they know the feedback you got, and then fulfill a meeting role as an evaluator and record that in your profile so that it gets recorded and you get credit for being an evaluator. Then for research and presenting, we just walked through that very quickly to show that there are resources and tools available in every project that help guide you how to lay out your speech, how to organize your speech, but they're not required for you to finish the project. There are tools available to help guide you and give a better speech. Next time, on the next episode, we're going to be talking about completing a level in pathways and how to do that. Join me then.